could see the light conditions inside the ship. They're different than anything I have experienced, and it was a challenge. But I was able to get these images that I shot through a tiny porthole in the ship that provided me with just spectacular views. We were traveling at a rate and distance in which there were moments where there was a pause in our journey and our progress would seemingly stop. And that's when I was able to shoot these images. The other thing that was going on is that my interaction with Voss and other members of his crew was limited by these unusual and low light conditions inside the ship. But I was placed during the journey in an area in the ship, it did not have a seat or restraining system. I wasn't strapped in. The area I was in, I'm certain it was a designated area for travel. So I was standing in an area in this different levels of light. The porthole was not in the area where I was standing, but I could see the light come to that area, and it would come in at different times. And at that moment, I could feel like we had made this stop in our journey, and I was curious to see, we had reached our destination. I could not detect the movement of the ship. There were no G-forces, but again, I could notice the light changes. So at different times, I made my way out of the designated area to the location of where this view, or what's called a porthole, and I took these images at these different stages of the journey. Each time I was then escorted back to the designated area. It wasn't like I was, get back there, I wasn't in trouble, but it was like, we're going to move and for your safety. And the way that this was done, I wasn't forcibly taken back, and it wasn't, scolded or anything like that. I was never threatened. It was a non-verbal and a non-physical communication in which I found myself turning back to return to this designated travel area. And again, although it was dark, I could see, but I could not detect depth or define shapes to tell you exactly how large this area was. But I do know when I was stepping back into that area, I knew that in this area I felt safe, and I was unthreatened. The images of the planet and the additional craft, there were other moments where we stopped during the journey, and the craft that you see that I shot, I believe that this was not a ship used for travel. I think that this was a station that was supporting the craft that I was aboard. And I detected that there was communication, there was activity aboard our ship when we got to the point where this station was nearby. I think that my presence was being monitored. Again, I was not restrained, I was not hooked up to anything, I was not violated. It was an experience that I was provided, and I believe that it was an experience for them as much as it was for me. I remember thinking at the time that I was not scared and that this was good. I think that if I had been intimidated or scared or nervous and upset, I don't think I would have been there. I don't think that they would have taken me there. My multiple encounters and experiences over decades have enabled me to be open and receptive. And I believe that it was because of that I was invited to have these encounters, and have been so repeatedly. Just this past week includes findings that elements that are required to sustain life on Mars may have been destroyed through what I guess could be called climate change. that affected the atmosphere of that planet. This is, we know, has happened on planets throughout our galaxy. The concept has been made that life as we know it may have existed at one time on Mars and other planets, and that we on Earth, we continue to enjoy the conditions that provide us the ability to sustain life. But, this theory goes on to say that we on Earth, our life may have come from one of these other planets that no longer sustain life. And through adaptability, we now have life on Earth. So that our life was derived from one of these other planets. So if this theory, this concept is true, then my thinking is that we are all essentially related to all life. So just as the concept of we are all people regardless of our race, religion, creed, we are all life no matter what the requirements for our survival are. And for this reason, there is no need to be afraid or think that we have to go to war because other life forms are different. Having said that, I do not believe that we as human beings are an inferior species. I don't think that it's an issue of that we are not as smart or intelligent. But I do believe that fear and mistrust planet Earth today. And when I review these images of the station, the amazing images of the atmosphere taken through this porthole that I captured, and the scarred planet and the station in its orbit, I see a positive opportunity, not just for the human race, but for all life to evolve. And I think the timing is incredible. It's such an exciting time. And